Since we first cleared the sand from the Great Sphinx, ancient Egypt has captured people's attention. Archaeologists and historians have been obsessed with it for the past 200 years. It's a place whose mysteries we've been steadily solving for years. But even after all this time, there is still a ton that we don't understand. Some of the greatest finds from antiquity are still hidden in Egypt's dunes, waiting to be discovered. Such findings frequently simply lead to new puzzles and unresolved questions. 10. The Lost Labyrinth of Egypt. A vast labyrinth in Egypt existed 2,500 years ago that, in the words of one who witnessed it, surpassed even the pyramids. It was a huge structure with 2 levels. There were an astounding 3,000 separate rooms inside, all connected by a complex network of winding corridors that no one could navigate without assistance. King tomb-like underground chambers were located at the bottom, while a large roof built of a single enormous stone was present at the top. Numerous ancient authors claimed to have seen it firsthand, yet 2,500 years later, we're still unsure of its whereabouts. The closest thing to it that we've discovered is a vast, 300-meter-wide stone platform, which some people think was once the labyrinth's foundation. The top stories, if it is, have been utterly lost to time. 9. The Unknown Queen of Egypt. The tomb of a woman who was interred amidst the massive pyramids of the Old Kingdom of Egypt was discovered in 2015 by archaeologists. Inscriptions at her tomb refer to her as both the mother of the king and the wife of the king. When this woman was alive 4,500 years ago, she would have been one of the most significant individuals on the globe. She would have become the most influential lady in the country. Furthermore, no one is aware of who she is. She was given the name Khentekaus III by historians, who believed she was the daughter of Queen Khentekaus II. They speculate that she was Pharaoh Neferfer's wife and the mother of Pharaoh Mekahur, although they are unsure. 8. The Sphinx of Israel. A 4,000-year-old Egyptian sphinx was discovered in 2013 in Tel Hazar, Israel, which surprised experts who had never anticipated to find one so far from Egypt. They discovered the statue's paws, which were perched on a base. It is thought that the remainder was purposefully destroyed thousands of years ago. However, it would have stood 1 meter tall and weighed half a ton before someone knocked it over. Nobody is aware of the purpose of an Egyptian statue in Israel. An inscription on the base with the name King Mycerinus, a pharaoh who ruled over Egypt approximately 2,500 BC, is the only piece of information still present. 7. The Mysterious Death of King Tut. King Tutankhamun passed away at the age of 19, and the exact circumstances of his death are unknown. Not because he was in his prime, but rather because his death is a complete mystery. Tut had so many problems that it's difficult to determine which one caused his death, which is why his passing is so mysterious. King Tut's health was atrocious. His parents must have been siblings, according to historians, because he was born with so many hereditary abnormalities and also had malaria. He had a club foot and genetic flaws, which some people think may have made his demise inevitable. Additionally, he had a shattered skull, which archaeologists long assumed indicated that he had been stabbed in the head. Although it is now thought that his head was just broken during the embalming process, the possibility that he was murdered has not been completely discounted. 6. The Hidden Chamber of the Great Pyramid. For Pharaoh Khufu, the biggest pyramid of them all was constructed 4,500 years ago. It is a huge, almost 150-meter-tall structure made of more than 2.3 million stone blocks. Yet, until recently, it appeared as though there were just 3 chambers inside. You're not alone if you think that's a lot of empty space. A team scanned the pyramid in November 2017 to check for any items they might have missed. Indeed, scientists discovered indications that there might be a sizable concealed chamber as sizable as the largest room in the entire pyramid above the Great Gallery of the pyramid. The odd thing is that the Egyptians purposefully made the secret chamber impossible to reach. There are no connecting passageways or corridors. They could only have filled the room with something while they were constructing the pyramid and then sealed it later. The subterranean chambers inside has yet to be revealed. However, Pharaoh Khufu evidently did not want whatever was inside to ever be made public. 5. The mummy wrapped in a foreign book. An ancient Egyptian mummy was purchased by a guy from an Alexandrian merchant in 1848. He displayed it as a decoration for years without recognizing what a peculiar antique he had. But a few decades later, when the doctors removed her bandages, they discovered something really strange. The book's linen pages had been used to wrap the mummy, although it wasn't written in Egyptian. It took years of research to determine what language it was, but today we are aware that it is written in Etruscan, the ancient tongue of a people who formerly inhabited what is now Italy. We don't have much knowledge of this language. The longest Etruscan text we've ever unearthed is encircled by this mummy. 4. The Dendrolite. Unusual imagery is depicted in a large relief on the temple wall in Dendra, Egypt. According to the common interpretation, it depicts a snake emerging from a lotus blossom while being supported by a pillar with human arms. Not just because the pillar has arms, but the entire image is strange. It just so happens to resemble a model of a Crookes tube, an early light bulb developed in the 19th century, in every way. In fact, it resembles a light bulb so well that some people believe it to be a blueprint for building one. The only room in the entire temple without fire-burning lights was the one that displays the Dendrolite. The only area of the building where Egyptians burnt lamps was this one, according to residue discovered by archaeologists. How then did they see anything if they didn't have an early model of a light bulb stowed in here? Why did they bother hanging such a complex painting on the wall if the space was completely dark? 3. The destroyed pyramid. The highest peak of any pyramid in Egypt should be found on the Pyramid of Djedefre. Of that, Djedefre made certain. Although he lacked the means to construct the largest pyramid, he found a clever way to ensure that the tip of his tomb stood slightly taller than everyone else's. On a hill, he constructed it. But for some reason, only Djedefre's pyramid has been completely destroyed while all the other Egyptian pyramids are still intact after thousands of years. The base is all that is left. There are theories as to what transpired, but nobody is exactly certain. Some believe that Djedefre just passed away before they could complete much of the work, leaving his pyramid in ruins. Others believe that 2,000 years ago, Romans demolished a significant historical structure in order to quarry the area for the stones. Others believe that Djedefre was simply abhorred by the Egyptian populace, who were willing to destroy an entire pyramid out of anger. 2. The disappearance of Queen Nefertiti. One of the few women to govern over Egypt, Queen Nefertiti is legendary. She is thought to have seized control of Egypt and governed in her own right. She was the wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten and most likely the mother of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. However, Nefertiti's final resting place has never been discovered, despite the fact that other pharaohs' tombs can still be seen dotting Egypt today. Her tomb has been sought after for many years. Archaeologists were almost certain they had discovered her grave in a hidden room within King Tut's tomb up until the year 2018. But when they carefully examined the wall in May, they discovered that nothing was there. Curiously, neither Egyptian nor Western history makes any reference to her demise. The last mention of her disappears completely after roughly the 12th year of her husband Akhenaten's rule. Some contend that she changed her name and became pharaoh as a result, however not everyone concurs. 1. The Lost Land of Punt. Punt is a location that appears frequently in literature from ancient Egypt. The Egyptians were fascinated by this ancient African empire, which included gold, ivory, and exotic creatures. And it had to have been really potent. It was a location that the Egyptians revered and referred to as God's land. There is no denying Punt's existence. It is frequently mentioned in prehistoric texts. Even a statue of the Punti queen exists in an Egyptian temple. However, despite how significant and potent this location must have been, we have never discovered it. The items the Egyptians preserved are the sole relics left of Punt. Scientists studying the mummified bones of two baboons that the Egyptians acquired from Punt in their desperate attempt to locate this country came to the conclusion that the baboons, at the very least, had originated in the region of present-day Eritrea or eastern Ethiopia. This at least provides us a place to look while we search for Punt, but an archaeological search would need to cover a large area. Furthermore, if the ruins of the Kingdom of Punt are ever discovered, a whole new set of puzzles about our past will become available for investigation.